We could probably talk for 4 or 5 hours about all the different things that you might need to consider and all this stuff. I'm kind of surprised anybody wants to get into the whole web business anymore.
Welcome to the Marketing Team of One podcast, where we have conversations about the issues one-person marketing teams face when trying to meet their goals with limited time and budgets. Now here's your hosts, Eric and Mike. Well, Mike, we're going to talk today about websites. I see you've brought a contraption with you today.
We got tools.
Yes.
Yes, we're gonna bring another layer of tech to this podcast today.
That just builds upon itself, and it's going to be this incredible machine eventually.
Yeah, it's really fun to play with the stuff too, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dork for all this stuff. So,
yeah.
Yes. But I do love looking at websites, and that's one of the big things that we do around here is people come to us all the time. My website, XYZ, whatever it is, and they have issues and want us to talk about it with them and see what we can help and improve. And we're going to walk through a few of those websites today.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people have this inclination that their website sucks. Like, I hate our website. Like, they don't want to show it to anybody. But I think a lot of times they might not even know exactly why. But sometimes it's other stuff, because let's be real, the customers aren't seeing those problems. They're seeing a different set of problems, right? And so I think that's the lens we're going to look through everything today, is like, when your customer comes to your website, what are they seeing?
We're going to be talking more about just experiential, first person. Hey, let's look at this website, pull it up, and then talk about it. We preach all the time. Know your audience. Well, what is your audience looking for on the website? What are their goals? Obviously, they're going to be a mixed bag of different options that, maybe they want to go buy something or download something or just learn about somebody or just look up your address, or there's a multitude of ways people enter and why people look at your website. Again,
as we go through all these things, we're looking at the website, trying to optimize for like a gut reaction, right? I mean, it would be great if everybody came to our website and our websites and sat there and like it was the latest episode of Severance or something like that, and just were going to dive in, right? And
couldn't get enough.
Couldn't wait. Almost appointment watching. I'm going to look at this website and I'm going to enjoy it. Some popcorn. It's not that way. We need to make sure that we capture people's attention as quickly as possible, and be very clear about it and about what our website, who it's for, what we can do for everybody. And so we want to optimize everything about it around that gut reaction. Those points.
Let's cover the basics of what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about, obviously, design, because that's one of the major things. How does it look? How does it feel? Does it express your brand? Does it fit into your brand as everything else does? Because really, this is probably one of the most important touch points of your whole brand system is your website. That's probably the second most important thing after maybe your logo or something like that, right?
Yeah, the design is super important. We want to make sure that it reflects your brand identity and everything you've got going on there, right? Are you using the same colors for your same color palette that you're using on social media and your other materials that are out there? Are you using the same typefaces? Are you using the same types of imagery? We want to make sure that that's reflected there, and because you're right, the website is one of the most visible brand pieces out there, right? I mean, another important thing of brand is the messaging, right? And the wording and all the stuff. Are we being clear and effective in our messaging on the website? Are we explaining who we are? But more importantly, what we can do, what we're here to do, what problems are we here to solve? What's the mission of the organization? Those are messaging things that should be apparent right away. As well.
So that's the words, basically.
The words, yeah. The word part of the brand. This all together still represents your overall brand, right? But those are two of the more probably visible things that would be extensions of your brand.
And then the next thing would be kind of the user experience, which gets into like navigation kind of experience, like making sure that you've got you get people to where they want to get to as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
When we talk about the user experience, right, we want to know, like, we equate it to the website. Most of the time, if somebody's coming to the website, they have a job they're trying to get done,
right,
or some kind of action they want to take, right? So knowing your audience, knowing your customer, knowing what jobs they're trying to get fulfilled when they come to that website, we should have a clear answer for them to walk them to that path to success, right? So a good user experience would remove any friction in that. I guess a good example is like maybe if you're a local business, right? And one of the key things that people might want to do, let's say you're a restaurant, right? If you're a restaurant, one of the key things that people might come to the website for is they want to know where you are, right? So you should make your address very clear to find, very easy to find. If you're a place that takes reservations, you want to get the reservation number right up front. Having the menu right up front. Those are 3 tasks that people are looking to do when they go to a restaurant website. And so you want to make that as effortless as possible for people when they come to that website.
One of the last things, I guess, to consider is just how does the website perform when you switch formats? How is it on a laptop? How is it on a tablet? How is it on a phone? We're going to look at some of that stuff?
Yeah, and I think some of that could be, we could roll it up into this talk about like accessibility, right? And can people use your website? Some of that's user experience, some of that's user interface, but there's also just accessibility. We had a whole podcast episode about accessibility, but on a mobile device, can people read it? Can they still navigate through the website cleanly and effectively? A lot of websites, rightfully so, are built in this like responsive thing, right, where they use the same design, but it adapts to the different screen sizes. And I could pull up on a screen like in some of the developer tools, they'll give you all these different options of the different devices, and there could be like 30 different devices. And that's really only scratching the surface of the different dimensions you have to play with, right? So you want your website to be responsive to all those things and not really treat any of those as a second or third class citizen. You want them to feel great. Make everything accessible on all of those different platforms.
Well, and that just, again, emphasizes the point that 60%, if not more, of the web is observed or reviewed on a phone. So that's where a lot of people, when we say mobile first, that's where people begin designing your website as if it were on the phone first, and then they expand it out from that point, which we try to do when it's appropriate. We do ask people when we start, right? Like how do your viewers look at your website? And we do optimize the design of the website for that major audience, but we also consider all the other ones as well.
We look at it holistically at all of them, but yes, there are some things like we do have some in the past. They're in certain industries. Most of their audience does work on a desktop machine, right? And they've got a big screen, right? And so the mobile affordances aren't as much of a priority. They're still there. I think another important consideration, like when you're talking about the mobile versus desktop thing, I think it's a lot easier and it forces some great decisions if you start at the mobile side of things, because you're not going to have less room than a mobile device to say what you need to say.
Good point.
It forces some efficiency in the way you talk about what you're doing, some efficiency on the way you design things, the way you the things you include, right? You're never going to have less than this. Helps you give you another lens to look through to be like ruthless with editing.
We're going to look at today. We're just going to focus on homepage, right?
We're not going to go deep into we don't want to bore everybody about going page by page with all these things, but we're prioritizing the gut reaction of somebody who's coming to the homepage. So let's say all 3 of these websites that maybe they had an interaction with a person in person interaction, and they said, "Oh yeah, well we have more information on our website," and they're like, "Okay, great, I'll go check that out afterwards." Or maybe they clicked on a link in their email signature or something like that, right? We're taking the opinionated approach that people are coming in through the homepage. Gotcha. Which is not always the case, right? Like, especially with search engines and stuff like that, you might end up on a deeper page.
Or a landing page or something specific to that effort or campaign.
Exactly. So that's super important, and we could talk about that another time. But I think really we're talking about the gut reaction of like how you can improve your homepage. We could probably talk for 4 or 5 hours about all the different things that you might need to consider and all this stuff. I'm kind of surprised anybody wants to get into the whole web business anymore. It's mad, like to do like all the things right. If you're just one person, that's hard.
Why don't we just do it? Why don't we just open up the first website and start going?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are we ready?
I'm excited to do it. Let's do it.
Love it.
So remember, gut reaction. We're looking at all this here, and so I want to give like a quick kind of top down. Good thing to keep in mind is this kind of like F-shaped pattern that people look at websites at and browse. Right, they're going to look across the top, and then it might be more like a Z pattern, but you're going to look left to right, and then you start making your way down, right? And so you want to make sure that you have things for your website that match that pattern, right? And the key things here. So almost every website you go to nowadays, they'll have their logo over here. That's good. We've got clear links here to main items. One thing I really like about what they've done here on this website here is that they've prioritized things. You'll notice like here under more, there's a whole bunch of other pages on the website, but they're really trying to focus the links at the top of the page here on things that are most important. So that's good. As we look here, though, the first feedback I have is I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon when it comes to videos playing in the background. Because I don't like video. I think I do, but especially this one, you can tell based on the links across the top. Like that it is California Rice is the website, right? But they're promoting wildlife and salmon here, right? Like those are there's a connection here. I might not immediately know that connection here, but the video does help show, hey, this is where rice is being grown, and here's all the wildlife it's helping support. So that's good. It tells a story with the video that's really helps support the branding. So in that way, it's really good. But video has its own problems. I'll say problems. This is the curmudgeon in me talking. One, video takes a long time to load. Like you can optimize it as much as possible. I think this has probably been optimized to the best it could be. But especially if somebody has a poor internet connection, you're really slowing down everything if you've got a video there, right? Two, and this is kind of on the accessibility side of things. There's a lot of uncontrolled and unexpected motion happening here, and I'm not sure that there's a way to stop it. So from an accessibility standpoint, if you're gonna put a video on there, the ADA requirements, the Section 508 stuff requires that you have a way for people to pause it,
so they could
or stop it,
or just pause it, or okay.
And in this case, because of the noisiness, I don't want to say noisiness, it's beautiful flock of birds, but when that one's going, like you can kind of, right in here, do you know where my cursor is? It's really hard to see, right?
It's so by one of those
there's
birds.
A lot. Yeah.
No,
so
not that one, that bird.
Yeah, that bird. So, okay. The other thing I want to be from a design perspective, I think we got to keep in mind is this idea of above the fold. And so the above the fold thing comes from like newspapers. When they get delivered, they'd be folded in half. And yeah, your newspaper is super long. You'd have a whole bunch of information, but you would prioritize the most important information on the top half. So it could be read. And that applies to the web as well. We want to make sure, but the above the fold isn't a hard line, whereas like the newspaper, it's right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
On a web page, it can vary, but you want to keep that range in mind and make sure that you have important information here on here. And I think what's missing here on this site is that there's nothing above the fold here that tells me who's California rice, and really why am I seeing all these birds and everything?
What's interesting is that and this is one of our clients. They were nice enough to allow us to pick apart their website or critique their website, I should say. But their main tagline, which doesn't even appear on this version of the logo, is the environmental crop.
Correct.
So you would make that connection even if that was if we had that tagline in there somewhere.
Yeah. And what you'll notice is if you start scrolling, it is there.
Oh yeah, there it is.
But it's not. But it hasn't been moved up there. So, I guess a small shift you could do here, and I would probably recommend, is going back to that kind of Z shape. Right? We've got links across the top. If we go back over here as people are trying to find their way, if we could put that text over here, above the fold, it at least gives people a little bit more,
context.
Exactly. The other thing I would do from a messaging perspective is, we know this is California rice and the environmental crop, but I think we could pay that forward a little bit more with some more succinct messaging. So instead of, we already know it's California rice because we got the logo up here, right? And if we've come to this website, we probably already know that California rice is involved. So instead of just saying California rice again and the environmental crop, I would probably start with something that says California rice is the environmental crop, and then have a supporting sentence that explains why they are the environmental crop, right? Like that they support all of this wildlife. The where rice is grown supports all of this, and we know because they're a client that they're a part of the Pacific Flyway, that there's so much wildlife that they support that it's almost bigger than their mission of growing rice. It's like
a symbiotic relationship between agriculture and the environment.
So those are a couple of tweaks I would make. Like if there was a way to say that this is an environmental crop without using video, this is a kind of, the video does a really good job of showing that here. It's hard for me to say there shouldn't be video. But maybe there's another way to do it that loads faster and is more accessible to people. So those are the tweaks I would make, like above the fold here. But then as we scroll down, we can see in here, we've got beautiful photos. People, we are California's rice farmers and mills. We live and work in the Sacramento Valley. This is good. I think they're really trying to promote the people that are at the heart of rice farming and everything. So that's good. That's effective. Has a clear button here to get the people to find out more about the people behind the Rice Commission.
This is an interesting treatment because this almost explains or captures what you were saying about the top of the fold stuff. Was they almost need a little bit more of this in that top of the fold. Yeah. Okay.
And then places. Okay, design-wise, one thing that I'm seeing, and it's also it's an accessibility issue, is if we look at this line right here, it's really dark on a dark background, and it's quite hard to read actually. And even this white on there is not the clearest to read. Another thing I would probably look at design-wise is I would make sure that this typeface is like a minimum of 16 points. Like that's kind of like an industry standard now for web text, and that a lot of that goes back to accessibility standards and everything.
I could see that
so it would. My guess is, looking at this with my gut reaction, is that this is probably smaller than that, and that we could make it bigger.
But the real crime would be if they embedded all that text as an image or as part of the image.
Oh boy,
then all bets are off. Right, burn it down.
Yeah.
But they've done a good job of keeping it searchable. It plays into the SEO game. It is live content. Basically.
Correct. And if somebody did need to use a screen reader to consume this, that it would be picked up by that. It would pick up by that.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So wildlife, I mean, design-wise, the imagery they have on this site is like top-notch. There's as far as like storytelling goes with images, I don't know if it gets much better.
It's nice.
It's fantastic. I do like that they started with the environmental crop stuff and they didn't go, I like a break from it where they're talking about some of the other parts that support that they're key. Let me take a step back here and just say that I think really what I'm reading here is that these are the things that are important to the rice industry as a whole. It's the people, it's the places, and the wildlife.
Yeah.
And so I think they've done that. I think there might have been, it would be at a sacrifice of the storytelling with the giant images and stuff like that. There might be a way to more concisely say that. Maybe even right here at the bottom of this top of the fold section. So you can give people a hint about like, these are our key pillars. These are our key messaging pillars.
Okay. Yeah.
But this is good. This is effective. Link to the blog again. Just the imagery is just beautiful.
So good.
I like this a little bit. Like there's a double-edged sword, but I do like the idea of using images because the images are so strong and trying to get people a glimpse of where they are, what they're doing on social media and everything, this social media block here. But if it's not very beautiful and engaging and really helping tell the story here, like this is one of these things that the implementation matters so much. Just a couple other things. I really like that they've got basically the whole sitemap here down at the bottom. It makes it to where if you're on any page, you can get directly to the next page that you're looking for. Nice. I think that's really good. There's a good clear call to action here to contact. They're not directly like selling rice. They don't have an overt call to action. So whereas normally I would think that it would be important to have some big call to action up in the main navigation. What's this action that you want people to take? Here, the action is they want people to read. They want people to have an understanding of what the Rice Commission stands for and what they're trying to support. And so it's not as direct.
That because we are kind of intimately knowledgeable of the back end of this organization, let's identify who their audiences are, because I think that would really help people understand.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know we were involved in the design of this website, so we outlined before we got into it. So their audiences, obviously we've got people who are interested in rice. So there could be just, how do I cook with it? I know that that's something that is something that's important for people to understand. But it's also a lot about industry and transmitting the mission for what California Rice does to legislators, policymakers, and the agriculture industry as a whole. So those are some of the audience members. Did I cover most of them?
I mean, really, I think the overall goal with the website here is to kind of like, you hear this a lot, change hearts and minds and about the role of rice farming for the state of California. And because we won't get too into it, but there's a history there, and then they've done a fantastic job of changing the narrative and they've done that through these types of things. They don't have a direct call to action for the people that are coming here. They just want people to leave this website having a better understanding of all of the benefits that rice farming brings to Northern California.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
All right. One last little thing I like to do here is let's look at, I'm going to move over and look at this on a mobile device. And so this is really important too.
And everybody can do this, right? This is not some special tool you're using?
So this happens to be a little tool here in Firefox I'm using. But if you don't even want to get into the clickety-clack of all that, just pull it up on your phone. Yeah. Just like, I'm just doing this. It's really easy to record. We've already got it recorded. So a couple things that are really good here. We have a really, really clear navigation here, and we can get to everything. I like that they have a search right up here, so you can get right to it if you want to. So we have the whole site map here in one navigation. That's good. When you go back up here, that closes. It's not a video. You'll notice here that the video is only loading on desktop, which is a good thing because there's an assumption there that people, if they're on a desktop machine, they're probably connected to a Wi-Fi or broadband internet.
They're not paying for the signal like we would on a data plan.
Whereas this is going to make sure that the mobile page loads quicker. it's above the fold. We've got the messaging here, which is good. California rice, the environmental crop. Again, we could probably nuance that a little bit. It does get a little hard to read. This is definitely too small. And even considering that it's a script font, it makes it really hard to read. So I would bump that up. I like that here, instead of putting the text over the image like we did on the desktop, we've got it clearly listed here. So that's good. It's pretty derivative of what's on the desktop, which is good. It doesn't feel like it's a completely different beast or anything. And yeah, I think this is effective. One other thing I like to see is just scrolling side to side. Like, is it actually adapting? Some of these responsive sites, they don't respond really well to the side. They don't snap to the edges. So there might be a little like overflow or something like that. So when people are trying to scroll with their thumb, it might scroll sideways and
they're too
stuff
big or
like
too
that.
small. Or something like that.
So I think this does a really good job of that. So
would you make, like, to me, like, people down there, and this is something that maybe I wish that we're connecting a little bit more to the photo, because as you scroll, I see these big gaps that seem to be, and this is a design snob thing. So
it totally is.
Like I'd reduce some of that a little bit just to kind of tighten it up so that the people part, the margin below people seems smaller than the margin above the word people to the actual photo of people. So I would just tweak that. Too.
Or I mean, honestly, maybe even sacrifice a little bit of the bleed here and then wrap that in some kind of like box so it's a little bit more clear that it's delineated from the next one.
Okay. Good. We're tearing apart our own design. I love it.
All right. I'm going to jump back to the desktop and I'm going to go to our next.
Well. Here's another website. Look at this.
Yeah. All right. So, and like Eric said before, we picked people that were friendly. We didn't want to just pick on strangers' websites. We asked for people's help on all this stuff. And our friends at River City Food Bank, you could look at actually go back to our episode with Erica, who talked about nonprofit marketing. I asked her if she'd mind if we roast and toast the website a little bit. And so here we go. Okay. This is fun. I haven't looked at this website recently. So let's just kind of take a quick gander at things. First, it might be a little unfair that I'm looking at this on a desktop first, because I would assume that this is one of these cases where most people coming to it are mobile device first, right? But what's good about that is you can kind of see some hints of that in the design of this thing, that it does look like it's being designed to be responsive to a bunch of different sizes when you look at the main navigation. Navigation, I mean, if we're talking about limited size and we're talking about a design thing, there is a lot of open white space here. We'll take a look and see when we get to looking at a mobile device, like, are we making the best use of time? Like, white space is good, but sometimes it also can be like, are we using what we have available to us best, right? I love the organization of the navigation. I think it's absolutely perfect, right? They've got get help. If you're somebody who's experiencing hunger, like that's the first thing. I think that's amazing. They've designed it around the needs of the people that be coming to the website. If you got somebody who really is worried about, not worried, wrong word. If you're somebody who wants to help battle food insecurity, we've got a thing here. Places where they can give, where they can volunteer their time, donate food. This is fantastic. And then some more information back here about like who they are and who they serve. So the navigation, like structure and the naming and everything, this is just perfect because it really lets everybody, back to that user experience side of things, lets everybody know where they can go to get the information they need.
Question about that. Is there a minimum or maximum of amount of elements you would want on the main navigation? I mean, it seems like for those that have more than 5 or 6 elements, they usually then have like a super menu or some sort of a mega menu that then goes deeper if they need to, or they put it on the sitemap on the bottom. This to me seems like we've got 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep.
I wonder if that's getting out there as far as maybe too many.
So I think there's a number of reasons why you see that divide, or you see and I'm going to answer your question here shortly. Yes, I think this might be a little more, and the reason why is to fit on certain screens, especially with this horizontal navigation. When you talk about like responding to different sizes and stuff, you're going to run out of room. Another reason why is the size of type that you can fit in here, right? Remember when I was talking about like the 16 point or something like that? This looks like it might be smaller. And so I would want to beef that up. Well, when you beef up the size, that means it's going to take up more room, which means you start squeezing out other things. If it were me, and going back to the idea of like having effective use of white space and everything, I would do a few things to clean up the navigation. One, I would remove the home button. It's almost everybody, and it's supported where if you click on the homepage, they've even got it that way here. If you click on the logo, it goes back to the homepage. So that's an easy win. We can get rid of that. I would not get rid of Get Help, Get Involved, Who We Serve, and Events out of the main navigation. I would take this, and goes back to one of the things, and I would have a very clear and very prominent like call to action. This is the call to action they really want to have moving, right? So I would pull that out and have it over here, again, go into that kind of Z pattern. I would put that way over here, make it big, make it bold, make it clear that this is where they can go to donate. I think these are taking up valuable real estate in the navigation too, these social links and stuff. I would probably keep them about the same size, but I would move them up into this area up here. Make them an afterthought, though. Like really what we want to make sure is that our main navigation links, the ones I talked about here, are clear and you can get right to them. So when we go back to like thinking about like your key audiences and what actions they're trying to complete, like some people will. I'll acknowledge that some people are going to go to the website to find out more about that company, right? But most of them aren't, right? Like most of the people have more specific needs. They need help or they want to help, right? So I would prioritize all of these. Like I would de-emphasize this a little bit. I would either put it down at the bottom of the footer for everybody to use or something. But I could see a case for maybe a lot of sites now, there's kind of this idea of like a primary navigation and like a secondary navigation. And so I would put that into more of like a secondary navigation. It could still be up in the top, maybe up here again or something like that. But so people can still get to it. But that would be.
Because About Us it's interesting to see the different ways people use that About Us and how important it is depending, and it changes from organization to organization, how much emphasis there is on that. Because like sometimes you really want to know, like, are these professionals doing this? And in this case, I think the mission cert is maybe has my priority over the About Us. It does.
Absolutely. So those were, overall the navigation is really good. All right. I want to get into a hot button topic here.
Oh, right. Let's do it.
My opinionated take.
Roast and toast.
Okay. This slide is really good. Really good because no one should be hungry, right? I think this is really good. One, it's on brand. I know that this is their mission statement. I know that like the typefaces they've used are really good. It's showing people, it's humanizing it. Typeface is the same as this, right? This is really good. What I don't like is that we've got another thing here that keeps sliding without my control and everything. I think that, well, one, people typically do these sliders because it's difficulty prioritizing one message over the other. This one's pretty clean as far as things go. I've seen way worse. I think a compelling header thing here could do both things, because what they're trying to do here is talk about their mission and get more people on board and get more donations, right? So that's why there's two. It's like there's this push and pull. We want to say both things, right?
Yeah.
But from an accessibility standpoint, sliders aren't great, especially when they auto slide. Like you would want to have like a way to pause and forward and back and everything. It's good that these pause when you hover over them, so that's a good thing. But I don't think that a slider is needed here at all. Like I think that you could lead with this, maybe make this a little bit smaller.
Yep.
Because no one should go hungry. You can have maybe elaborate with a smaller bit of text here to talk about how River City Food Bank helps fulfill that mission, and then you can call people into that mission. You could say, "Get help." Have a call to action for the people who are looking to get help. If you are one of the people who is hungry and wants to find out more about how they could get help, but you can also this message is not exclusive. Right. It's welcoming to everybody. So having a button there that says "Donate now" helps solve both of these things.
Connects both,
and it makes this a little
redundant.
Yeah. So I mean that would make it more effective. And again, it's that gut reaction, right? Yep. One other thing I wanted to talk about is, and I know why this happens, but when we talk about like brand consistency and stuff like that, this is one of those things that this typeface here, and I know I've already kind of poo-pooed this slide here, but I do want to point out that like this typeface here seems to be different than what we're using here, and especially on the slide before, right? One, yeah. So like ideally, we're able to use the same typeface, especially in that main the main headings for everything, for that consistency. It might be a designer snob type thing, but I think it's one of these things people don't know they notice, but it kind of sits underneath, simmers underneath it.
As a design snob.
No, but I'm saying people who aren't design snobs, it might be something that just kind of chips away.
Gotcha.
It gives maybe
an
uneasy feeling. It does look like
it's disconnected a little bit from the rest of the site based on that typeface. Now, I know I'm hyper aware of that, but I don't think that it's really close to that typeface. So it does kind of throw me a little bit. And it starts to get there with these 3 buttons down there too.
Yep. Yeah. So structurally having this big mission statement here, calling people into the mission is perfect. That's great. Following up by showing like 3 paths for the different people, the different needs for people. This is really, really strong as far as the structure goes. Design wise, this typeface could probably be bigger and a little bit easier to read, maybe not as close to the edges on everything.
Thank you. Yes.
But and then this kind of drop shadow thing inside here, those are design snobby things but as far as like helping people get from A to B and everything, I think this is really effective.
So you're saying not from a design perspective, but a user experience perspective, this is right on.
Right on.
It's just the design needs to be cleaned up a little bit to make it more consistent and on brand.
Just kind of clean it up for the brand's sake and
good
brand identity's sake. This is really good too. In the Meet Your Neighbors, they do have a very nice. I happen to know that they do this really interesting thing where they're interviewing people in the line as their way to get into the food bank. And so it's really good. I think we could probably amplify this part a little bit more and get people. I like the idea of it. I think there's just a little bit more on the execution side of things that we could do to make that more effective. Like Meet Your Neighbors. I don't think it's going to get any better than that for a headline for this section.
Well, and looking at the whole, is the footer down there? Is that the next
I think we're getting to the footer. Yeah. So this serves so many things, right? Like, I think it's fantastic because it's letting people know that, hey, like, food insecurity isn't something that's just like, that's, all those people over there. It's the people that are in your neighborhoods and deeply embedded. So like it's calling people who might not be aware of the problem. Like maybe it's the people who are trying to, about volunteering or donating. It's helping stand up those, those pillars, right? But it's also giving people license who might be a little apprehensive about going to get help, like showing, hey, we have neighbors here, come meet them. learn more about it. Like, know that you're not alone.
Nothing more compelling than video to tell that and get people comfortable with, I recognize that building. I recognize, there's all these people online, just like on the video. And
Yep. So what I would do here is, I think, giving a little bit of a tease as to like, who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like highlighting her story
mm-hmm.
a little bit, if they can, with a little bit of text here. And then say, hear her story here.
Nice.
Would kind of sell this a little bit
just
more.
Get closer to that.
Yeah.
The intimate story there. Yeah.
And the other thing we could do maybe instead of just isolating one, is to maybe there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
And we could do that a number of different ways. Maybe there's 3 of them in a line. Maybe we have one, and then you can click on a button to reveal more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But I think that would be really effective in telling. If it's really helping fulfill all of these pillars, of how they're delivering service and how they get help delivering those services.
Can I make a general statement then, based on what we've just scrolled through on this page? To me, I think that there are things that are optimized really well for this, but I think we could take it even one step further or 2 steps further and combine a lot of these things to where that header message combines some of these elements in there, in there, like we've already kind of outlined, like get help or give help, kind of 2 options in the header, which would then kind of remove that middle band and then just go right into, here's 3 neighbors, meet your neighbors, and so we would even optimize this even more so that, because the message is pretty clear, they're helping people and they need help.
Yeah.
And so those are the 2 levers that they're really pulling on here, and they could almost optimize that even further by just focusing on those 2 things.
I think they could be more. So this feels from a, like, you'll notice I think a lot of structurally and what they're trying to do here is all very good.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it feels like we've got a very good utilitarian version of a homepage, right?
Definitely.
But I know that with nonprofit websites and everything like that, I think if I was going to add anything to this, I would build up a case for how big the problem is and how they're fighting.
Nice.
What they're doing to fight that problem.
Educate a little bit more.
There's an education point of view, right? Like, and I happen to know that they have good impact stats. They can talk about how many people are food insecure in the area.
Mm-hmm.
They can talk about how many meals they've served. They can weave that narrative into this homepage to really help.
Infographic
Infographic-y,
is a nice way to,
or like there's some sites, especially in the nonprofit world, where they'll use statistics or something like that. Like you'll see them like 3 across or 4 across. Those like this, and this. It doesn't have to take up a lot of room, but it helps sell that the problem.
It's a little bit more data proof or data evidence.
Yeah.
In a sense.
It's like, here's the problem. Here's how big the problem is. Here's what we're doing every day to help solve that. I think it would help sell the especially for donations and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
And other things here, like I think the messaging here, like every $2 donated equals a healthy meal for a family facing hunger. Amplify that more. I think there could be some room to play with some of those key messages on the homepage here. But I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff going on here.
Yeah.
So Erica warned me that I should go easy on them when it comes to mobile, but I'm gonna jump over here a little bit. So
load speed.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yep. So this is a key thing. They've done a good job. They have a separate image here for mobile.
Yeah.
So which is good because this text doesn't get super, super small.
Yep.
I think if that could be optimized so it loads faster, that would be really good. I would design-wise, keeping in mind that we've got this like fixed size here, I would try And this takes some nuance and everything. I think the headline message is really good. Like we talked about, I would carry over the messaging and buttons from that, and I would try and figure out how to capture that and the picture all in this area above the fold. And I think that would be successful.
And on the phone, the fold is much lower because it's a lower vertical screen.
Yeah. So you have a little bit more room vertically to help. Again, we carry this over. A lot of the same feedback from before would be the same. The last thing I would look at is just like the menu here. Very clean, very easy to get to everything. So I think that's really effective. I mean, my main tweak I would make on the mobile would be to just make that dead simple, explaining and giving people clear calls to action right here, right in this area right here. Get people right to it. But yeah.
Great photos. That's huge for websites. It does such a great job at storytelling and getting people engaged immediately.
Absolutely.
High quality stuff.
All right. Let's go a completely different direction.
Okay.
Or not. We're going to go to another river bank.
Oh.
But
literally. So it's a river theme for all the...
yeah. Yes, we're in Sacramento. Rivers rule everything we do, evidently.
We're a river town.
Yes. All right. Now, let's get into River Valley Community Bank here. Yeah. So, all right. So, one thing that I think they've really, looking at this, one thing they've optimized for is existing customers, right? The clear call to action I see as I'm doing that F pattern is online banking login. They're making it super easy, assuming that most people don't bookmark the actual online banking portal and everything. They have it right there. They also have this like, hey, are they not a part of it? They thematically fit together. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
They have a very, very simple main navigation here where they've got business and personal and about us, like
simple
business banking, personal banking, stuff about them. I think that's really good. Design-wise, you'll notice like there's some weirdness about like the hover things disappearing and this active tab thing. I think that's more of a technical implementation detail. So yeah, I mean that's a small tweak I'd make, but it's clear, it's clean. They've prioritized the three main places to go, which is really good. As I get into this, we've also got this like sub navigation here. It's not immediately clear that I know we have this active tab here, but it almost feels like when you're on the homepage, you've kind of jumped already into a subpage, like you're in the business banking thing. So a lot of this stuff, it does feel that way, right? You've got your business banking information here on the left. I'm ignoring this big moving thing, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then we've got the business accounts, business services, business loans. I think that's a strategic decision. This bank, is a business bank. That's what they do, right? Yeah. So that makes sense, but it's, I think, maybe taking advantage of, I would probably tweak the main navigation to be a little bit more to delineate maybe direct connections to some of these sub things.
So you would still include the sub things on there, maybe just kind of refine it a little bit more. They are very business forward with this, assuming that personal is almost secondary to the experience. Yeah.
I think what they've got a very clear case of like, if you're already a customer, let's think about that through that lens. If you're already a customer and you're coming to the website, that there's certain things you're going to want, right? The thing that I'm not seeing here is, and kind of going back to the restaurant example, right? The restaurant, if you're a restaurant website, you're coming in because you're looking for reservations, where you are, and menu, right? So here, there's not a lot here for the people who are already customers. The things that I think are missing would be customer support or customer service, like a way to call them. Those types of things. I would want that here in this main navigation somewhere.
The phone number usually on a bank is right up near the top on a lot of the bank websites I've seen.
Yeah. let's talk about the slider here. I think I mentioned earlier, I'm not a huge fan of sliders. There's a few things here, and I want to actually focus on this one.
Yeah.
This is really important information, and I know it's like this. I think this is one of those cases where if you have a website that's not like flexible to your needs as a web content creator and publisher and everything, that if you don't have a better way to do it, this is what ends up happening, right? But so here we've got this really important alert that people are scamming their customers.
Yeah.
Here, and there's a lot of text in here, and it's small.
Yep.
When we get to mobile, I'm assuming that's going to be almost too small to read because it's going to shrink down the entire thing, right? So, adapting this section, I would change out this section a little bit for a number of reasons. But this one's a challenge because there's accessibility issues, there's readability issues, especially on mobile, where I assume a lot of people are doing their banking coming to a bank website. It's going to be a lot more mobile focused, right? So this is not optimized for the mobile thing.
Is that even selectable text, or is it an image?
No, it's an image.
Yeah. So again, it's not even like searchable or there's nobody cataloging.
Yeah.
Not that this is critical, but that is something to consider.
Yeah, and if somebody has the visibility problems, a screen reader is not going to read
especially
this.
An alert. Like don't get scammed. Yeah.
But I know from behind the scenes that this website is kind of locked down in a way that it's very hard to get this type of information out in a text way.
Okay.
They've tried to do it here, and you'll see over here cell phone text, spam, and scams. That's here, but thematically, it's also along with events they're at. Frequently asked questions. I think there's a organization thing here where it's like you don't know exactly what to expect in this thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's one thing that could be cleaned up. Sorry, let me go back to this thing. One thing they do have, which is good from an accessibility standpoint with these kind of like auto-playing sliders, is that there's you can control it here at the bottom. You can pause it. You can have it play if you want. So having those accessibility controls in here is really good. I do like some of the messaging here because they're a community bank. They want to talk about how great they are at serving the needs of their communities, and so some of these sliders are helping fulfill that. But the thing that that's missing in all of this above the fold thing is some like clear messaging about like who they are and what they stand for, and how, and more importantly, how they can help their audience. They're making there's a lot of assumptions here.
They're putting a lot of weight on the tagline to do that.
Yes.
I think that's the only space over there, other than some of the fun activity, the more ephemeral stuff down in that slider. It's hard.
Yeah.
You need a lot more support for that messaging, I think.
And I think one thing, especially in certain industries, well, actually, even, with the Rice Commission, they don't have a lot of competition. There's not a lot of other commissions in California that they stand apart from. Right. But with like banks and everything, there's so many, by and large, the products and everything that they're offering are very similar to every other bank, right?
Yeah.
Your homepage is probably your best place to set up your differentiation, and why should somebody choose your bank over somebody else? And so I think this is the opportunity to go big with that, and that's one thing that I would suggest is kind of revamping this main hero section here to clearly delineate who they are, who they're for, and how they can really help them.
Yep, for sure.
As we scroll down a little bit more, we can see direct links to their services. Typeface, we would definitely want to bump that up. That looks pretty small.
There's a lot of different type sizes on that.
There's a lot of
different typefaces, I feel.
Yeah. And so that's something that we would want to look at, I think it's good that they're getting people directly to their product lines and everything. That's a really good thing. And then mobile banking, it's super important. I would probably amplify that a little bit more with some of the messaging here, like make it very clear, like mobile banking or our mobile app or something like that. And especially for this thing, because it is something that's like it's available for iPhone or Android or something like that. Maybe to help people understand it a little quicker, there's always those like download on the App Store button type things or something like that.
That
I would
says it
include those here.
immediately. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like just the gut reaction stuff again. Let's see. Getting down here, they've got I think they've done a really good job of getting the main sitemap links to all the important pages, other information.
Just to kind of lean into that a little bit more, this is a really critical piece to most websites for SEO purposes, correct? I mean, there needs to be a direct route for the machines and robots that catalog the web. They love to see this kind of stuff.
It helps from that perspective for sure. There is technically there's a thing behind the scenes called a sitemap.xml that you should have in place.
Just a back end thing.
That's a lot of robots will use that to crawl. But then there's others that will use the website itself. I think the idea here is that if you've went through all this stuff, scrolling through an entire page of whatever you've decided to do, you don't want to leave people empty-handed. So by putting it this way, you can give people a very quick access to find what they're looking for and where they're trying to go to accomplish their task at hand, especially if you haven't helped them out up here.
That makes sense, yeah. And it can be repeated links. It's like it's fine if it's like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of times I'll go to a website, and if I don't see it very quickly, I'm going to jump right to the bottom here. Lastly, it is good they have direct phone numbers to each one of their branches here. I think that's really important. I'd love to see a more direct like phone number link or a way to get people up here in the header. Layout wise, I just think there's a lot to be kind of desired here. I think the logo might be a little big. I would almost make it a little bit smaller and be able to move the menu thing up here a little bit. And that would create a lot more space to get more important stuff into that above the fold section. I think having a clear button for online banking is super important. I think that's really good. I already talked about the kind of text sizes, especially on these images. Let's wait for here. Yeah, like no one's it's going to be really, really hard to read on a mobile device here. So that's having some way for them. I think having a way to have some kind of like urgent news or something that's in plain text that's responsive to it would be a
could see almost like another red band. I know that there's a red band in the nav up top, but having like a red band would do that better. I think
having a feed and everything.
Like a live feed. It's just text, you know.
And mobile wise, a lot of the stuff that we talked about on the desktop applies. I think there's a lot of kind of wasted space here where the type size could be bigger and would be better served for people.
Easier to poke with your finger,
and especially that's one thing I didn't talk about is the space between links. You want to make sure, think about it, it's people's thumbs that are trying to tap this thing. People's thumbs are not as precise as a stylus or something like that.
Or a mouse click with a cursor, right?
Yeah. Okay, so now in here, this one is definitely, this whole module really wasn't, it feels kind of like a afterthought for mobile and stuff like that. So there would be a better way. I mean, typical way might be to have this be full width up here and then let the text go down below. Yeah. You know, again, type size is pretty small, so we would want to beef that up. And one thing I'm seeing here, which is interesting, is if we look at the menu here, I almost expected to only have business and personal and about us that's on the existing one. This is interesting that it's kind of, do you see how that was kind of broken?
Yeah. Ooh, wow. Look at that.
So
a lot of white space there. I like the white space.
Because responsive nature thing and the way that the things were, the main navigation, that side navigation were separated. That means that you've got these links here. I don't know, in this case, it's a horrible thing, but it just feels a little out of place. It
seems like the order of things, the way, from my interpretation of how they designed the experience on the homepage, that sidebar element that's in the light blue, if you scroll up a little bit, seems like that should be up above all the different services. Like just in general, it should be below that slider thing in a sense. Because that to me seemed like I'm going to go in that F pattern, I'm going to go across the top and then go down the side. That's the next thing on the side that I would want to go to. Then they have to do the services, as where this on the mobile puts those services up and those individual, I guess, more important links are down even more further down below. So this needs some re-engineering for sure, I would imagine. Yeah, there's a lot of different kind of pieces that could be used to and prioritized and everything. And then the feed here, again, really it's just like some of the same issues that are on desktop would pull over to mobile. The one thing I do like about the footer here is that how they have gone 2 column here. I do
to
like
get
that
people
too,
to. I would probably add a little bit more space. Maybe the problem is I don't know how much bigger they can make the type and still have this 2 column thing. But if they could beef that up and add a little bit more space into here, that would help.
For sure,
help with the clickability and everything. The back to top's a good thing, especially if you get these pages that are super long.
Give you immediate access to the top there. Interesting. All right, well, that was really insightful. It gives us a really good picture into the way we kind of start looking at websites and how we start talking with clients when they come to us for a website refinement.
I think there's also the platform thing, and I think we have a whole episode talking about that too. That there's platform considerations there and being hamstrung into certain things, right? And there's in platforms part of it's just attention on it, right? A budget. There's all these things that come into play there, but I wouldn't. I think if you had a flexible and scalable platform from the beginning, you can adapt it over time to where that 3 to 5 years kind of goes away because you're working on it all the time. I think that's a more healthy way to look at owning a website and maintaining a website. But the reality is, if you're not doing that regular stuff, don't let it go more than 3 to 5 years to at least check in and make sure that it's still meeting all your needs. I did want to kind of announce a new thing that we're trying out here. And so if people thought this was helpful and wanted that kind of second set of eyes on things, we're going to be launching a new service called Roast and Toast My Website. We'll do a video review, walk through your website, looking at a lot of the key things that we looked at today, like design, messaging, technical implementations, accessibility, looking through all that stuff, but also providing a technical report. So looking at SEO, accessibility, performance, so like the speed and loading time of your website. And we bundle all that up in a report and deliver it to you. So you get that kind of outside opinion about how things are going.
If you're in the process of maybe making a case to leadership that, hey, we should be working on our website and maybe they're not listening, maybe this is just another tool that you can use to kind of validate that argument for improving your website. Mike, appreciate everything that you've shown us today, all of the insights and everything. Again, if you like what you've seen here on the podcast, please give us a like and subscribe. We appreciate all that effort on your end. How's that sound, Mike?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Love it.
Do that. He's a wise man. Do all those things he said.
And do all those things he said. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. For more information and other episodes, subscribe to the Marketing Team of One podcast on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify podcast networks. You can also chat with us on the r/Marketing Team of One subreddit or visit marketingteamofone.com to learn more.